Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of JKL Media. We're talking 12 Monkeys, and this time we're only doing 2 episodes, and I think that was a wise decision based on what happens in these 2 episodes. We're finishing off the first season, Arms of Mine, and then we're going to the first episode of season 2, which is Year of the Monkey. So a lot of big changes happen in these 2 episodes, and just before we dive into it, there was a question I was going to ask last week and I forgot. In the last episode, Paradox, there was a moment when, and I know this might be unfair because we didn't discuss this ahead of time, but if you can remember when Cassie died in the institute, in the health institute, the crystal on her watch, the scratch, disappeared. And I was confused by that. And I'm just wondering if you guys noticed that and have any thoughts on it. Karen?
I noticed it and I have no idea what it means.
Okay.
Did that subvert the fate of what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't undo what Cole did.
Right.
So yeah. I don't know.
Weird. Jesse?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I assumed what that meant is life, that it's timey-wimey, that things are changing, and therefore, because she died then, that doesn't mean she meets Cole. We don't get the scratched watch. I think just thought that was a visual way of saying we're no longer in Kansas.
Okay, fair enough. That's I actually like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so eager to ask that question, I was remiss with my manners, and I forgot to introduce my co-host. So since you've heard both of them, I'll just ask them to say hi. So, Karen?
Hi.
There you go. And Jesse?
Hello.
Alrighty.
So I did want to share, I'm not sure where this will go, so I'm just going to go ahead and be rude and bring it up at the very beginning.
Okay.
Yesterday, we were going to go out to a late lunch, early dinner, and I was finishing up my rewatch of the season premiere of season 2. And so Chris is currently staying with us. So he comes into the living room and he's sitting down, and I only had like 8 minutes left. So both Linda and Chris said, yeah, finish it and then we'll go. So they're sitting there not knowing anything that's going on. So I pause it and I go, Chris, you're much younger than I am. Is this a good look? And he goes, it's a look, and I certainly think it's timely, but no, I think it looks horrible. I'm like, okay. And then I go a little bit later. I said, okay, my other question is, then I paused on Cassie.
Right.
I said, she is a big player on Hallmark movies. That's why I was into this. But do you buy that she's with the other guy? And both Lynn and Chris go, no, I don't buy that at all. So I just thought
feel
vindicated.
Yeah.
I do feel a little vindicated that they have no context of the show, just based on pure imagery. And if we ever get Aaron Stanford on the podcast, I will apologize because I think he is knocking out of the park acting wise. I think he is just, I've really enjoyed the Cole character. I just don't like the way he looks. So anyway.
Yeah. You know, on that note, I have spoken with, you guys know, I talked to my husband about what we talk about quite a bit. And so I told him about the conversation we had and how I compared him to Brad Armpit. And I'm sorry, that's my nickname for him, Brad Armpit.
Okay.
And he said, okay, that's pretty funny. He remembers watching part of the show, not a lot of it. He maybe caught an episode here or there, and he did not like that character either. So I agree with you, though, Jesse. He is in acting far surpasses his ability to be a leading man. So,
yeah. If he would just shave.
Yeah, I think that, I think, shape it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
or neaten himself up. At least in these episodes, he was a bit neater. because he has access to a shower and all that.
Yes, that's part of it is right. Like, okay, we do have you do have hot water now, so you do have shampoo. So yes,
Right.
yeah.
Oh man, we sound so shallow.
We do.
I'm sorry. It takes me out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of why I'm saying it, is that I'm watching a television show. We're supposed to be giving our opinion, but sometimes his look takes me out of it.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
they managed to make Jones look okay. I mean, she looks a little disheveled, but she doesn't look dirty.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. But and it's funny that look works for some people, and it does, like for Todd Stashwick, who's playing Deacon. He's always got the 5 o'clock shadow, but on him it looks good. I guess because he's just black, so it stands out better. So yeah. Anyhow, let's get back to
Yes, sorry.
let's turn to a little more in-depth discussion of these episodes, and so we have the season finale, Arms of Mine, and this this episode was felt very different for me than the rest of the season, and partially because there's character behavior switches that are going on here that I especially for me, for Cassie, seemed a little abrupt. For Cole, he's continuing on the path that he's on, and he's becoming more empathetic, which I like. The turn for Cassie to become colder is a bit harder to take. And then after we get the opening montage where all the characters are sort of getting the spotlight shown on them to summarize their arc for the season, we get this scene with Aaron, who has been compromised in the previous episode, and is telling the elegant or mysterious lady what's going on with Cole and Cassie. I found that scene very jarring, and where they're punching the crap out of Aaron, or Cole is beating the crap out of him, and I just can't believe that Cassie would sit there and watch that. Like I think this it's funny because we just talked about in the previous episode how the show has done a really good job of setting up arcs for the characters where when their behavior changes, we buy into it. This is the first time that I've had to sit back and say I'm not buying how Cassie's acting in this episode. So I'll come to you on this first, Karen, but I'm just curious about how you reacted to that opening scene, and the fact that I don't know if this is going to be something that carries forward, but it looks like they've written Aaron out of the show. So I'm curious how the beginning of this episode played for you.
Well, I mean, technically, anyone can come back on the show because it's a time travel show.
Yeah.
But it looks like he's gone, to me at least. And the first thought I had when I watched that scene is, oh, crap, I'm going to have to eat my words when we talk about this, because I was very adamant that Cassie would stick to her inherent goodness. And when she stepped in and gave Cole the okay to continue beating on Aaron, I was a little shocked by that. And I mean, I get it from a standpoint of it's still lawful, quote unquote, and I'm going by the lawful good, the personality types of like D&D characters. It's still lawful because she's trying to save billions of people. And so in her mind, if Aaron goes against that, and getting the information from him will help her and facilitate their quest to stop this virus, then yeah, okay, it's kind of in her personality, but the violence is not. And in these two episodes in particular, she does really break that. And I did wonder, and I'm getting a little off topic here, but it's still the same conversation. they show her walking through those red plants, and that she has a kind of a deja vu about
Mhm.
her being talked to by the elegant woman, quote unquote. I'm wondering if perhaps she was a little brainwashed in that moment, and maybe that's clouding her vision. I mean, that's me hoping, at
Mhm.
least,
Right.
that there's a rationale behind it. But yeah, that it was a bit jarring to me as well.
Mhm. Jesse.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Cut to the
My
chase.
my my Hallmark Channel movie heroine should not be acting that way.
Your movie
I
girlfriend.
yes, I actually thought that this might be a dream sequence or
Mm.
something, because and I actually had to go back and restart the episode. And like, okay, did I miss something?
Right.
Because this seemed not,
Abrupt.
yeah, and a little bit out of character. Maybe
Mhm.
not for Cole, but definitely out of Cassie. And it it was jarring.
Mhm.
And to and I felt for them because he had lost everything and trying to support her. And as he said, someone's got to support, Aaron is saying, someone's got to protect you, Cassie, as you're trying to save the world. And so I thought it was really odd. And I was very surprised when you see she knows what's going on and isn't trying to think of a different way, isn't trying to find another. And our heroes are not acting like heroes. Now, this show is very much a complicated show where does the end justify the means? And I
Mhm.
think this is a debate you will continue to have on this series as we watch it. But I did not enjoy that scene. I didn't like the decision. And it kind of took me out a little bit of starting the episode going, ugh, I don't like where this is going.
Right. Right. Yeah, I can totally see that. And it's yeah. The show has been so good up until this point that I don't know why when they are plotted arced out the season, why there's this abrupt change in tone or character behavior in this episode. And it also feels like from the previous episode to this one that there's some sort of a time jump within the 2015 time period. I don't know whether it's a couple of weeks or a month or whatever, but if it feels like we're missing backstory or events that happened in the interim there where that would change Cassie's mind so much. And maybe this is something that the show will explore in the next season, and they'll jump back to it and say, okay, so this is why she's the way she is at the beginning of this episode. But for now, we're not seeing that. And so my hope is that they are going to fill in that gap of what happened between the previous episode and the start of this one, that will make this opening scene a little more palatable. So, but we'll have to see. I don't know.
Yeah, and like we see why Ramsey behavior has changed,
Yeah,
right? I think
exactly.
they've done a good job of setting up, paying off this why he's doing what he's doing.
Mhm.
I don't feel that they've earned this point with Cassie so far. And once again, that's only my opinion. And it seems like you two are kind of in sync with me. But yeah, I don't feel like this seemed, and you're almost like, wait a minute, did I skip? Like, is this the first episode of the second season? And so did I miss an episode or something? So yeah, I'm right there with you.
I'm glad you say that, because I didn't mention it, but I felt the exact same way. I felt like I had missed something, and I
Mhm.
came this close to going back and rewatching episode 12, but I didn't want to get any of that storyline mixed up in my head for us
Right.
to talk about.
Right. Okay, so the other thing that we talked about in the previous episode is how Ramsey storyline had really the character had been elevated, and that continues in this episode and the next one for that matter. But particularly in this episode, he and Cole are at odds, and Ramsey's been hanging out with the striking woman, and they're whatever they're doing, which we still don't really know. They're, that they've come to the fruition of their plan. I didn't really understand that sequence from the last episode either, why they were doing the merging of the medallion, what that was proving in that pool and area, or the backyard area with the pool and that. I mean, visually, yeah, that was cool, but I didn't really understand what they were trying to prove there. However, it seems that in this episode, whatever Cole was doing has reached the end game, and now he needs to get to the machine to try to get back to his son. And of course, Cassie and Cole are working against that, and the two of them, Cole and Ramsey, meet up at the machine, and we get the standoff, and they talk through things out, and then Cassie comes up and the whole situation escalates again, and then we get the surprising resolution to that. I think I was surprised at how that played out. And Jesse, I'm wondering, if you didn't like the opening scene, I wonder what you thought of everything that led up to this final confrontation between the three characters.
Talk about a standoff, right? That they're all pointing at guns, and I continue to like Ramsey more and more.
Right.
In my mind, he's the hero of the story.
Mm.
And even though when he makes decisions that perhaps are not the best, you understand why. And I love their bromance between him and Co.
Yep.
Right? I ship that bromance, and as we talk about going forward, I love that their uneasy truce, that their love of each other overcomes their obstacles, which seems to be what a true friendship would do, right? I have had one of my best friends is an incredibly conservative politically, not make America great conservative, a true conservative, and he and I, when we talk politics, we have to put it aside, but I love him like a brother, and he adores me, right? So we can put aside our differences to help each other. So I love that Ramsey's like, everyone cool, be cool, don't do anything.
Yeah.
And once again, what the hell, Cassie? Why? I mean, we stopped this, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel like they've earned that. Like her to, when we put it down, and her to go, nope, here I'm going. That seems like something maybe Cole would do. That maybe something even Ramsey would do. Even Katerina would do. But it doesn't seem like what Cassie would do. And I just don't. I keep saying this, but I don't feel like they've earned that. I haven't seen the journey enough to understand why she would do that.
Right.
Well, remember, she didn't have any personal attachment to Ramsey at all.
Okay.
There's no connection there between. This is the first time they've met, right?
Yep.
Is when he is threatening her mission. And she was all in for Aaron, who she actually was in love with. So, I mean, if they're going to that path, it made sense. That, she realizes, taking his life or hurting him or whatever will stop this whole thing from happening. And if it will stop it, then she does what she has to do. And I'm not saying that's in character. I'm still weirded out by how quickly she turned into this person. But within these episodes, it's been her MO, is that she's becoming more of a BAMF. And that is a badass MFer.
Well, and I think when you look at it that way, that's fair. I just don't understand how we got from point A to point Z. But yes, if you look at it under this new Cassie, that makes a little more sense, right? Okay,
Right.
yeah,
But the turnaround with Aaron was just out of left field. So
yeah,
that behavior overall is crazy to me. But if you take it with the grain of salt that is her being okay with Aaron dying, or somewhat okay, she does have a bit of remorse leaving him for dead in that fire. But with her being somewhat okay with them leaving him to die, it makes a little more sense that she's okay to kill Ramsay, because she knows Cole won't do it. Because Cole and he are brothers, essentially. And at that point, when she realizes Cole's not going to do anything about it, she feels like she has to take action. And I do like how they subverted that on both counts as well, where Cole decides, okay, I'm going to send you to the future and Jones can save your life. And in this timeline, since I can't go to the future anymore, I'm going to save Ramsay. And I think that shows it's giving us that insight into the Cole character, where we see that how loyal he is to people, and how he still has this innate goodness in him. And it happens later on with Jennifer as well, even though he doesn't have that same relationship with Jennifer, he still hesitates.
Right. Yeah. So interesting stuff here. And I'm hoping that based on all our reactions to this episode, that there's going to be a follow-up episode that covers this time period between the 12th and 13th episode to clarify the shift in Cassie's behavior. The only other that I think, Karen, you were making this point as well, is that Cassie has lost everything, and now with Aaron gone too, and the fact that he betrayed her in the process, she's just really in a bad place when they're getting to
disillusioned.
This point. Yeah, she's very disillusioned at this point. So that could factor into it a little bit, but it's still hard to take as because of her, her morals and her job as a, and her as a doctor,
right?
Her
to save
Hippocratic
lives.
oath to save lives. Right. It's still hard to take.
And they even bring up do no harm.
Yeah.
In these episodes and they say do no harm doesn't exist anymore.
And maybe I misunderstood it. And I'll come back to you on this, Karen, but my understanding was in the earlier episodes that Cole was the only one that could withstand the injections that he was taking that allowed him to travel back in time. And now we've already had it this first season. We've had Cole, Ramsay, and Cassie all doing the splinter. So maybe I misunderstood the first episodes, and maybe it was just the development of the of the injections were what the other people didn't survive, or that that Katrina needed in order to perfect it before she was able to use it on Cole successfully. But that seems to be where we are at now, because
that as long as you get the injection
you can sort of survive. So I'm not really sure when he said, I'll send her to the future, they'll save her there. I was going, but do they have any medicine in the future? Like, I didn't really understand that, but apparently they did.
Well, she's a doctor.
Yeah. Well,
Jones is a doctor.
Physicist, right? So
but
that's
what I mean.
Yeah. So that was
he was more equipped
suspect for me as well. But
I agree. I think that they chose Cole more for the fact that he was mentioned in Cassie's message.
Right.
However, they did imply that it took a special thing, a special, even if it's for anyone, but you have to go through a series of injections and you
Yeah.
have to have a tracker and all this
Yeah.
put in you. And now all of a sudden, it's as long as you get one injection, you can
Yeah.
time travel.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
does it mean you can only go once or twice and it wears off, or I don't know, but
Yeah.
I am completely on board with your questioning that.
Okay. And I assume you are too, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a cool twist
Mm-hmm.
because we brought up last episode, well, what are we going to do now that Cole can't time travel and he's stuck in the past? And then you go, oh, well, why don't we make Cassie go to the future? And that gives you a whole different set of storylines. So,
Right.
plot wise, I thought it was a cool thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a lot of ways, he's not making any sense. Like, okay, we can't get medical help here fast enough,
Right.
but I can send you X amount of years in the future, and then you will be immediately in front of a physicist who has basic first aid skills, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a little bit of
Yeah.
but I think to get us the story,
Yeah.
to get Cassie in the future is really well done.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you. And this has been one of my questions, right? Is I don't understand their rules of time travel. I
Mhm.
don't. And so we kind of get the feeling now that whatever this injection is, whatever this cocktail that they've created,
Mhm.
if you take it, you're allowed to travel via time.
Right.
So I do feel like the reason they were doing Cole is because they were always supposed to do Cole, right? That this is
Fair enough.
as Ramsey says, it took time travel to create time travel. That's how it works, which I think is one of the best lines ever when you talk about timey-wimey is, it happened because it was always supposed to happen, and there we go.
Yeah.
And
But what about, nope, just it took time travel to create time travel, move on.
period. Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's definitely a bootstrap paradox.
Yes.
Definitely.
And you've made a point there that I'll come to a bit later, but that I'll expand upon. That is quite interesting as well. I want to turn to Jennifer just briefly, if for nothing else, then for me, this is a personal anecdote story, but the location that they used, some of the scenes for season 1 were shot in Toronto, so I recognize some of the landscape. But in particular, the scenes where she was doing her lecture, that's the O'Keefe Center in Toronto, and that room that theater that they were in, that is where I went to see for the first time in live with Stephen King in a conversation with another writer.
Oh,
So
nice.
I was sitting there going, I sat right in that theater.
Awesome.
So that had a little zing for me, that whole sequence.
Very cool.
And
it looked very 1984 to me.
yeah. It's an interesting building. It's a very cool building. So Jennifer's still kind of doing her thing. She's the wild, where if Ramsey's the straight anchor of the show, Jennifer's the wild card. She's the jester. She's doing some pretty crazy stuff, especially in the first episode of season 2. But her speech, by this point we're expecting the unexpected from her. So like when she tells all those stockholders or whatever that she's basically got do all
Gonna
the
bring
opposite.
back the dodo.
Yeah, she's I thought that was pretty funny. So Karen, do you have any thoughts on those sequences? Or
Crazy lady.
Yeah.
I love Emily Hampshire, as you guys know.
Yeah.
From Schitt's Creek, and this is such a different role for her. I mean, she was almost kind of a Daria, if you know the cartoon Daria. In Schitt's Creek, she was very straight.
Mm.
very almost gothic,
Okay.
kind of character. And in this, she is well over the top.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see her in a completely different role. And boy, is she nutso.
Mhm.
She does a great job with this character. And I love how every time she sees Cole, she lights up,
Yeah.
oh, it's otter eyes. And her character is so consistent.
Mhm.
You see her almost be normal, and you're thinking, okay, she's giving this speech to the shareholders. She seems pretty normal. And then she starts going off on the dodos and the monkeys and all this other stuff. And they turn away from her. They're like, okay, she's crazy. Um, I appreciated that. And the fact that she comes back and says to Cassie, yes, I'm going to bring back the dodo, but I knew what was going to happen. I knew what I was saying and how they were going to react. So it's almost like she's straddling that line between crazy and sane. And she knows she's crazy, which is pretty refreshing, because when you see crazy people in other things, they don't know they're crazy.
Yep.
If you look at the original movie, 12 Monkeys, Brad Armpit did not know. I get to say it again.
Mm.
He didn't know that he was crazy. He
Right.
honestly didn't. And she definitely does, which I like very much. And man, her character is super entertaining to watch.
Mm. Cool. Jesse.
Yeah, I love her. And once again, Chris is watching, I guess, a little bit of the scene where they're doing the speed dating, which we're
Yep.
kind of jumping ahead,
Oh
right?
my goodness.
Yeah.
And Chris is like, man, she may be hot, but she's crazy.
Mhm.
He thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I, yeah, I have been at these kind of conferences where it's a user conference or
Mm.
a
Same.
kickoff meeting, and
Yep.
you're in those big meetings, and yeah, I'm thinking of the American president line where Michael Douglas says, "Be careful, we're going to end up in an Amway meeting," right?
Mhm.
And her to, the photoshopping of her father in all these
Oh, that
wonderful
was so funny.
scenes, and then a family man, and it's all BS.
Yep.
And when she says he was a um whatever the name of the company is, I can't remember, a Markham man. And they're all
Markers.
like, yeah. And she's like, oh, and then she's just making them insane. I love her. Linda has seen all of Schitt's Creek. I have not taken the time to see it. And when she did not recognize her at first, but then she went, "Oh my goodness, that's not her whatsoever."
Right.
So yeah, to
Yeah, it's
echo what you're
completely
saying, yeah.
opposite. Stevie is
Um, and
so straight.
I don't, because she's crazy, I buy into or she's insane. I have to do what I have to do. I have to do what I'm preordained to do. And I'm counting on you, Cole, to stop me from doing, because I don't want to do this. And I love the discussion of Cole, like, I don't have to shoot you. You could just not do it. But in her mind, no, I'm preordained to do this. And unless a body at rest stays at rest, the body in motion stays at motion.
Right.
I have to be at motion. I have to do this unless something stops me, is just a wonderful kind of dynamic. And the character, like when she talked about, ooh, I was way off my meds when I was talking about that. So she has shades of lunacy and then clarity that I would think as an actor, she just must adore this role,
Well,
because you just
yeah,
get to
for
play
sure.
so many palettes of emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Can I
sure.
ask you guys a question real quick?
Always.
What did you think is the thing that stopped predestination? What was the thing that allowed the future to be changed? Because I couldn't figure it out. What was the one thing? Because we do see that things start changing in the future. Little things, like Cole is now not underground. He pops his head up. Also the same with Ramsey. He doesn't die in the whatever it's called in the time machine room. So what was the one thing that started that whole deviation? Did you guys pick up on any one thing, or
that was going to be the point I was going to come back to when Jesse
I'm sorry.
was talking about in order to have time travel, you have to have time travel.
Time travel, right?
Yeah. For me, the moment was at the end of the episode when Cole was going to let Ramsey bleed out on the bridge, and then went back and picked him up and saved him, because in season 2, episode 1, the striking lady says you were supposed to die on the bridge,
right?
So that, to me, that's the moment that's changed things, and that moment came about because of Cole's relationship with Cassie, where he learned empathy. That's my read on it. I don't know if that's what you're after.
Cole changed enough personality wise to alter the future.
Right.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah. I couldn't pinpoint what the exact, was it when they were torturing Aaron? Was it, I don't know what the turning point was in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good supposition that it was because he picked up Ramsey and took him out of the room.
Off the bridge.
Yeah.
I think that is, if not the main reason, one of the main reasons. I think that time travel can be murky, and one of the things that they're playing with is one of the things that Charles and I always make fun of when we're talking in our Doctor Who podcast is time cannot be rewritten unless we need it to be rewritten for the purpose of the script.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the Doctor will always say time cannot be rewritten, but yes, it can sometimes, depending on the script, right?
Right.
And so I think this time is a closed loop. I think Katarina talked about it. It is always what it was supposed to be, but sometimes it's not. And they're having a lot of fun with this, which I love. And because I'm such a fan of the Ramsey and Cole friendship, there's a joke once that there was it was the nativity play, and so everyone's at the church, and the kids' line is the innkeeper, and they're supposed to, and the line is, "I'm sorry, the inn is full," and suppose the kid says, "But come on anyway, we'll figure it out."
That's funny.
So
Yeah.
I think that Cole's like, we're gonna figure it out anyway, and I love that about him.
Right.
Yeah, because from that point forward, they do several things that deviate from fate, quote unquote.
Right.
Jones didn't know that Cassie was going to be sent to the future, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because she was surprised by that. And they kept trying to kill Ramsey in order to make sure the future happened. Yeah. And the 12, they were sure that they were going to be able to all go.
Yep.
And they weren't. So I thought it was interesting that there must have been some kind of a point where they could change it. And now everyone is surprised.
Right. Yeah. So, and I need to correct myself. You were correct, Aaron. Cole rescues Ramsey from the control room, from the splinter room. I was getting the last episode in this one.
Well, he rescues him from the bridge too.
Yeah, but it's when he rescues him from the control room.
Okay. And that's the turning point.
That's the turning point. Yeah.
Okay.
That's when the new timeline starts, or alternate timeline, I guess you could say. And you mentioned the blue, or the episode summary calls them the Blue Man Group. If that's a reference that you may or not get, but I laughed when I saw that, because that's that musical
that's
group.
The 12.
The 12, and apparently those were the babies in this episode. So and it was confusing as to why they were, like their skin looked like it was deteriorating or something, or or like radiation burns. But when we saw that one disciple go, that once they washed her off, her skin was clean. So they were just wearing this stuff to, I don't know, for some symbolic reason.
Maybe
So
to blend in.
but that made it that confused the issue for me, because in this episode, I thought the 12 babies were the virus carriers, but then right after that, they showed all those suitcases being loaded up on Jennifer's private jet. So I was going, okay, so then the babies aren't the carriers. Like I was going,
Right.
like, what's going on here? Fortunately, that got cleared up in the next episode. So yeah, I think that's everything I got for this one.
So can yeah, I'm confused about the 12 babies. And so
Okay.
I would appreciate your thought. I mean, I figured at the end, right? Like, oh, okay, these are the Blue Man Group, as we talked about. But I'm not like, I felt the same way. Like, why does their skin look different? What
Yeah.
are they trying to do? Is there, I get the idea their purpose is to make sure that the virus happens.
Yeah.
I understand why Ramsey wants the virus to happen, because that means he gets a son out of it. But
Right.
the other people, I'm not quite clear yet why they want the virus so much, except that, they're evil leapers where everyone has to be, it has to happen the way it happened.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure on that.
No, I just don't think that's been revealed to us yet.
Okay, good.
I think
All
it
right.
has something to do with the Red Forest and the house, but
Okay.
the farmhouse. But I'm not. I'm just guessing at this point. But
That's a
Okay.
little crazy town banana pants.
Okay.
yeah,
That whole Red Forest thing for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird right now too. So that's something that I'm patient on that one because it was just introduced here. One thing I didn't pick up on this episode, but apparently when back at the striking lady's house, when that one person comes in to talk to her about the whether or not the splinter machine is ready, that person is actually Katerina's husband.
Really?
Which I never caught. I'm just reading it from the episode
Oh,
summary.
right,
So,
right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, he helped her with the time machine thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something to note, but I don't know if that character is going to come forward in future episodes as well.
I think they
But,
called him Jones at one point, and I
Yeah.
got that
yeah,
inference.
in the episode summary they call him Man Jones.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Nail Jones?
Man Jones.
Yeah. Weird.
All right, so if we got nothing further on this episode, we could start with season 2, and that is the Year of the Monkey. And I'm going to go right back to with you, Jesse, on Jennifer's speed dating scene, which is that banner, which is nicely partially obscured. We think it's the end of the world, but it turns out it's just part of the banner about
Being
the
single is not the end of the world.
being single
Yeah.
is not the end of the world. Yeah. And that scene, and the actor that she's playing against, he looks familiar too. I think I've seen him in other things. But the whole that whole sequence was just fantastic with her, and then she pulls out the gun. I just thought that was great.
Yeah, I was thinking of How I Met Your Mother. There was an episode where Barney talked about the scale of hotness and crazy, and so I thought that was I thought of that scene. The actor who played the dating guy, I'm looking him up. Trying to see if they list him, what his
Is he Rodell? No, maybe Dale.
yeah.
Brian Quinn.
Brian Quinn.
Yes, it's Brian Quinn.
Yeah. Impractical Jokers is where Chris
Oh,
knows him from.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yes,
and which he said makes him, Chris, like I like him even more now because of that.
Oh,
I
is he
have-
one of the four main guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's where I've seen him before.
Yeah. Um, I just, once again, I love the idea, and we've been consistent that Jennifer wants to be stopped. She's, stop me before I kill again. Stop me before I destroy the world. But if I have to do this, I have to do this. And um, Karen mentioned it. I do love the fact that her face lights up every time she sees Cole. Like, oh, great. And I don't know if because she connects with them, if she's got a little crush on him because she likes scuffy looking guys. I don't know. But I do love that the actress chooses to play that every time. But, and I do, uh, I also love the fact, right, that they do a great job of because of this crazy dating and the speed dating, he reports it. And then in the future, they have that report, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, let's go back and pass so that we'll have what we have in here. Oh, okay, I've opened the drawer and here it is.
Right.
So a little bit of neatness, but I thought
Yeah.
it was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Can I say that guy,
Yeah.
Brian Quinn, he's been in quite a few things. He's in a lot of Kevin Smith stuff.
Okay.
And in some of his roles, several, his name is Dale, in completely different things. He plays a Dale also in Star Trek Picard, in MacGyver. So he's been in a lot of different things as Dale, apparently. But yeah,
I wonder if
interesting.
that's his a shtick that
that he always plays a guy named Dale.
that always now then because of that they always like, oh, let's make him Dale.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a Tony Danza thing, right? Where he always plays a guy named Tony.
Yeah.
Whatever. Although this isn't his name in real life, but still pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just a side note.
Yeah. Another thing, Jesse, because you've mentioned several times now about Jennifer wanting to is going to release a virus, but she wants to be stopped. I don't remember when it was established that Jennifer, or has it ever been established that Jennifer is the one that released the virus? It's, to my mindset, the previous episodes, she was doing her best to, if not prevent it, but just get away from the whole virus thing. So I'm a little confused about why now she's the one that's got the virus. I mean, you could just notch it up to the fact that she's crazy, so therefore she's going to, do the unexpected. But am I reading it wrong that the vibe or the way I read it, her character was that she was actively avoiding or trying to stop the virus?
Remember that up until the last couple of episodes, they didn't know how it was released.
Right.
So I don't think they established it at all that it was Jennifer who released it.
Right.
And the fact that they're just finding out that it was Jennifer, I don't know. Is that part of, I mean, it happens after they splinter time. Is that a change? I don't know, but I do know that they didn't know until right before she had the virus that she was the one to release it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, Lou, is because, right, Cassie has now become obsessed, right? She's like, it's now Jennifer. We know it's Jennifer. We need to stop her. And for what it is, we'll quit beating the the drum of where did this come from, but stopping the virus has become Cassie's white whale. She is obsessed with that. This is, and I understand why in this case. She's lost everything else, as you guys both mentioned. So this is all she has left to cling on is
Mhm.
her purpose, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question on when did they establish that Jennifer is the one doing this, or was it, are we just, um, is this retro? Did they retro that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully, again, this will be a fill in the blank that will be
Yes.
answered down the
I'm
road.
sorry, you have to say retcon when it comes to genre stuff. It's a
Yeah.
retcon.
It's a retcon. Okay.
Yeah. So the bulk of this episode is back to the Cole and Ramsey relationship, and again, we just see with the Ramsey's with the tracker being removed and all that, and then him finding out that Jennifer is the carrier, the virus carrier, and that she's in New York. That he, in the end, decides to tell Cole the truth. Just again proves that he's got a strong moral center. And though this took up a bulk of the episode, I don't think there's a lot to discuss here. But I'll throw it open to I'll start with you, Karen. Is there anything you wanted to talk about with particular about that whole subplot of getting the tracker out of Ramsey?
I wanted to ask if you guys thought ahead of time that Common was going to betray him.
I wasn't sure. It was a bit of a surprise. I'm not surprised. I mean, it's a kind of a tropey thing, but the way the character played it, I was a little bit surprised when he did that, to be honest, because
me too.
He was so timid, nervous. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Walsh's "damn, you're inevitable," but betrayal. Yeah, I thought this was really interesting and played really well, right? When they get the tracker out of him and he's talking to them and he's not moving, then you go, oh, and you can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
I like, some of my favorite scenes was the "you believe in the past, I believe in the future," and this idea that they're going to quit on each other, and then they decide they can't. They're working together. I had complained or expressed complaint that I didn't like them not working together. I didn't like that storyline. So I was very happy to have them back and not kissing, making up, and everything's fine. Just putting together our friendship and our sense of brotherhood, and we're just going to let the chips fly where they may, but I'm not going to betray you. You're not going to betray me. And let's work on task right ahead. I don't know how this is going to work in the long run.
Right.
But for now, I'm very happy that they're kind of looking at this together.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that scene on the bridge. Not when they jumped off. That was interesting too. But they're back on the bridge after the tracker's removed, and you see Ramsey just his brain churning, thinking about, well, should I tell Cole or should I not?
Yeah.
And you think he's not going to tell him, and then all of a sudden he turns and he goes, "Yeah, it's going to be in New York." And Cole says, "Why did you tell me this?" "Well, kind of had to."
Yeah.
And it's a very begrudging thing, but then they both realize they're kind of on the same side.
Yeah.
And I think Ramsey is finally smartening up to see, well, we have to do this. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the shallow front again, it's just nice to see Ramsey with hair.
Agreed. I loved seeing him with hair.
Yeah.
And they also kind of explained that because of this super soldier juice, that's why he hasn't aged as much. I think that was a convenient hand wave to kind of give us, okay, we'll pass that on. I do love Cole calling him the old man and like, is this going to be an ongoing thing? Yes, it's going to be. I thought that was really, that was fun. They have more chemistry than Cole and Cassie do in my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we'll flip to 2043, where Cassie is gone and Katerina is able to stitch her up. She's obviously a very talented physicist, and
let me say also that they've had to do a lot of stuff on the fly in the future.
yeah,
So maybe she's more used to helping people
for sure. Yeah,
heal or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And then a welcome return is the Todd Stashwick as Deacon. I like that character. I think he's just got that really dry delivery. He's almost like the Bob Newhart of the of the series. I just
An
like
almost unlikable Bob Newhart.
yeah, almost
Yeah.
unlikable, but I still do like him. And we get the Blue Man Group is now in their adult form, all these babies, and they're jumping or trying to jump to various points in time, and we can only assume that they're going out to prevent the Cole from and Cassie in the past from being successful in stopping the virus. That's my guess at this point. I don't know if that's what it's about, but I'm assuming that's what it is. And notably, they show the last character they show jumping as a female character, and she looks striking enough to me to say that she's probably going to be in future episodes. But I'm just guessing.
Probably.
But why would you linger on somebody like that unless they're going to be featured down the road? So.
Or have an impressive death.
Yeah.
Like the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, so that all plays out fairly straightforward as well. And,
they're the creepiest.
Yeah. And the only thing that we've kind of got there that may be an item going forward is that Cassie has promised Deacon that she would go back and get the cure for his disease. So, Karen, I'll throw that open to you if there's anything in that particular piece of the episode you want to talk about.
I really like that he's very like almost childlike vulnerable when he talks to Cassie about it. He's like, can you really help me? And once she says yes and he realizes she's telling the truth, he might not be all in, but he's in enough to, and I think part of the tilt for him was he's not a fan of what the Blue Man people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's not so sure about what they're doing. And then when Cassie says, well, I can help you too, he figures, oh, well, I might as well throw my hat in with these people. And I liked that now he may be an asset on our side because I do like that actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the character's very interesting. At first I thought he was going to be kind of a Negan character, and
Yep.
I think they've softened that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, and Negan even has issues where he needs to lean on people now.
Yeah.
They have quote unquote redeemed him on The Walking Dead. I'm rolling my eyes quite a bit, but
yeah.
I can see they're starting to redeem Deacon already, and it helps that we haven't seen him in that Negan-ish kind of role.
Mm-hmm.
That he just barely scraped in with that. And I appreciate that he helped Cassie, and that he's the one that said we don't do no harm in the future, and you got to stick this guy in the neck. You got to do it, because if you don't, then we're sunk.
Yeah. And
it's kind of a well, I'll help you get out, but you got to help yourself too.
Yeah.
And I really like that little helping each other thing. I thought that was powerful.
Did you like the knife?
Sure. One of the things that took me out of it, again, there's little things that kind of take me out of it. He didn't wipe it off when he sheathed it again. Gross. I mean, the dude's laying there with the big robe on. Can't he just wipe it off real quick? But,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Jesse, you must have loved that knife scene.
I did love the fact that, first off, the actor is amazing. We have talked about how he was a highlight of Card season 3
Mhm.
as the captain who is kind of rolling his eyes at, oh, you guys saving the universe again, even though we've got to clean up the mess afterwards. And
Yeah.
great actor. And I love when you get to play a gray area, right?
Mhm.
And Cassie, see, this is very much in character for Cassie, finding a weakness to being as a healer, finding a way to get him on his side.
Right.
I love this. Reminded me a little bit, we've talked offline about Silo. There's a
Mhm.
scene similar where the sheriff, notices someone having a illness
Right.
in that episode. So I love that a little Sherlock Holmes-ish. Well, hey, based on this, um, and the idea. Now I do wonder, like, okay, how long does he have to take the pill? Is this a pill for the rest of his life? So
Mhm.
how is she going to get a lifetime supply of this medicine back to the future? But oh well, or is this just you take a regimen of like 60 days of this antibiotic and you're fine? But that's not important, Jesse. Just let it go, right? Um, and yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to go and you're going to take this knife and stick it into his throat. Little bit of uncharacteristic, right? Like, okay, we've already established that Cassie is now a badass. So why is she a little sheepish or scared to do this? A little inconsistency, but I love the idea. And now then I also wonder, um, we get the answer, but like, oh, great, she's promised she's going to go in the past, but the splinter machine is all destroyed. But then at the end, we get her, well, it took us, I've been in the future 8 months. So you go, oh, okay, it took him 8 months to repair it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, Wilson's disease is um, a copper disorder of the copper metabolism, and you can live with this for up to 40 years. So it's a slow acting disease. You can live up to 40 years without treatment, but untreated, it's always fatal. So depending
Okay.
how far along he was, um, uh, he could still have a relatively decent life, but it would be more painful as it went along. Uh, Never heard of it before, but it is apparently a real
Hmm.
thing. So it's not something they just made up
Did
for
you
the
not
show.
watch House?
No.
It's one of the diseases on House that
Oh,
they
okay. Well, there you go.
diagnose a few
Yeah.
times.
Okay,
Well,
so
originally jaundice, I was thought she was going to say, "Hey, you need to drink more. You need to eat more citrus. Let's get some
Mhm.
orange and get some
yeah,
oranges."
yeah,
Scurvy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Scurvy, yeah.
scurvy, yeah. So uh the whole thrust of these, for me, these two episodes is the end scene that we get with Cole on the rooftop and Cassie jumping back to 2015, and she's been away her time for 8 months, and I guess we're going to find out what happened in those 8 months. But she's a crack shot now. She puts one person down right with a shot in the head, middle of the forehead, and then we get another standoff scene with Cole and Cassie pointing guns at each other, and Jennifer's behind Cole, and it's a interesting reversal of character, that now Cassie's the aggressor and Cole is the protector, and that's to me that's really what these two episodes were setting up, was just for that last shot of those two holding guns against each other. So and a change in demeanor in Cassie is quite apparent. She's quite a bit colder in this episode's or scene. So Jesse, your thoughts on how the episode ended?
Well, it made me want to go immediately to the next episode, which is what you want in a episode, at the ending of an episode. I also think 8 months in the dystopian future would change someone.
Hmm.
So I do like that idea.
Yep.
And where it hasn't been 8 months, where we don't know how long. It's been a while for Cole too, right? Because they've been
Yep.
chasing
Yep.
after the armies of the 12 monkeys. So yeah, I'm excited to see where the show is go. And I went back and Googled a review of season 2, episode 1, and Entertainment Weekly said that they thought that this first episode did a great job of kind of resetting the premise, giving
Mhm.
you kind of an overview of what happened in the first season,
Yeah.
but getting you where it was a good jump on point for season 2.
Mm.
And I agree with that statement.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm still in. I think this has been a great choice of a show to talk about. And I'm looking forward to see what comes next.
Mhm. Sure.
Yeah.
Samesies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I whenever you say standoff, it reminds me of this quest in World of Warcraft, and it's in Shadowlands, which is the expansion that made me quit playing Warcraft. But one of the quests I love is when you help these people, 3 people, in a kind of thing that they all are doing together, and then you go to find them down in a crypt, and they're in a Mexican standoff. They all have guns pointed on each other, and you stand there and you tell them, no, don't do it, and they end up all shooting each other. And so every time I see that on here, and when you say standoff, I feel like they're all going to shoot each other for some reason. And it ends up that they do mostly all shoot each other, but they don't all die, which is an interesting twist in that kind of thing. Because Mexican standoffs are usually fatal to every, I mean, that's
Right.
kind of the point of
Yep.
them. So I love that. And I do like that it's kind of a reset, not a complete reset, but a realignment. I'd like to think that that they've made Cassie into this different kind of person, and that makes sense, like you said. Although she's not dirty when she comes back, like
No,
Cole
she
always
isn't.
is.
Right, good
She's very
point.
pretty. Her hair's all styled and everything.
Mhm.
So I mean, Cole could look better, but apparently he doesn't care. I do appreciate that we're left on a bit of a more of a cliffhanger than between the last episode of season 1 and the first episode of season 2, right? Where we
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
know what Cole and Cassie are going to do with Jennifer and the virus at that point. So I think that's cool. And I also did want to continue watching. I had to physically stop myself from, I had to put down the remote
Mm.
Yes.
Good.
and stop watching it. So
Very
yeah.
good.
And we're going to do 4 this next time, right?
That's right. Yep. So the only other thing that I'm going to mention is the last shot of Ramsey. Somebody knocked him out, punched him.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to find out who that person is. Is it the tall man or the pale man, or is it that girl that the blue group girl that jumped? We'll have to see. So that's
And-
where we're at. And
I also like the fact, right, that Ramsey, like, I'm not the witness. What?
Yes.
Right.
I'm not the witness. Who? Why are you calling me the witness?
yeah,
And so, do we know who the witness is yet?
no,
It sounds like Ramsey knows.
Mm-hmm.
no, I
Or
don't think
just know
Randy's-
he's not.
Yeah, he just knows that
Yeah.
he's not. So I think that's a
Mm.
character that we haven't met yet.
Okay.
So we'll have to see. All
That
right.
angers me because I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I need to stop being so sure of everything.
No, that's what
Because I
makes
look
great
like an
podcasting.
idiot when it
No,
comes
no,
back.
no.
No. That's part of it. If if you don't make if you play it safe and don't
Yep.
make predictions or statements, then it's boring podcasting. And it's also right that when you do get something, like I will not say what, but one of you in a couple weeks over the last couple weeks stated something that I made a point of writing down because we will ding 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 hit
Hmm.
it on the nose in the future in our Babylon 5 discussion.
Right.
Right. Interesting. And
Mhm.
the other thing to take solace with a show like this, Karen, what you may think is true could be true for one iteration of the timeline, but not for another one. So,
True.
Mhm.
you know,
I just think it's funny that I was so insistent
Oh,
upon
yeah.
Cassie's alignment, and then the very next episode,
I
it
was
bit me in the
expecting I
ass.
was expecting her alignment to change, but just not this quickly. That's all.
Yeah.
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 And maybe not that drastically, at least in my mind, but
Yeah.
what do I know? I'm not the writer of a series.
Mhm.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where these characters end up by the end of the series. That's for sure.
Mhm.
I just hope they don't get into situations where, like, you know, that's a problem with these metaverse and time travel stories is everything can get undone because you can
Right.
go back
Yeah.
and reset things.
That's a huge cheat.
Yeah, I don't want them to do that. I would the only really rule that we've seen so far with time travel in this show is that you can't put two objects together
Yeah.
from different time
The same
periods.
object, right?
Yeah, the same object together from two different time periods. So whether that's going to be perverted or subverted in some way going forward will be interesting to see. And
Yeah, is Cole ever going to be able to time travel again?
yeah, well, yeah, can Cassie carry back some of the stuff? Well, but Ramsey had injections of the stuff too, right? Because he was going to
Yep.
travel. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
I
but
got it.
Cole
Yeah,
Cole has his own blood in him from the
Yeah.
younger
yeah,
Cole.
but that's why he can't travel anymore because
Right.
it wiped out the. He needs a shot.
Right.
I think he
Yeah.
does, at least based
Yeah.
on the rules that have been established so far. But who knows? Maybe if he just holds her hand, they can go together. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right. So that's where we'll leave it. We got we're gonna get into season 2, and we got 4 episodes coming. And they're titled Primary, 100 Years, Emergence, and Bodies of Water. So that will be, I'm sure, interesting, and looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. So with all of that, I want to thank both of you again for all your comments and insights. It's been a lot of fun. And if people want to hear more of our stuff, Jesse, where would they go to find out not just this, but the other podcasts that you do?
Yeah, please. We hope you're enjoying our discussion of not of 12 Monkeys, but also we are going through a rewatch of Babylon 5, and we are going through one episode at a time, having a lot of fun there. I am also talking Bruce Springsteen on Set Lusting Bruce, John Hyatt on Perfectly Good Podcast, and Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere. And I'm still on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. So please send some good things over there to counterbalance all the garbage that is on Twitter often.
Amen.
There you go.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes, you can also email us at jklb5podcast@gmail.com. I am at Alaverias, not Alaverias. I should not say that. At Alaveria, ALEVERIA, on various social media sites. And my blog is alliestuff.com. And the landing page there has a bunch of links to other podcasts and blogs and things like that. So
Cool. And you can find this podcast and other podcasts on YouTube at Lose Reviews. We also have the Babylon 5 podcast, our my writers podcast, and the Stephen King podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Lou W. Sitzma. And with that, it's it for today. We're all going to go splinter off back into our own lives, and then we'll reconvene and merge the streams next week. Until then, thank you, everyone. Jesse, Karen, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, listeners, and we'll see you next week. And scene.